So, welcome to the podcast, Simon Thoumire. Simon, how are you, sir? Are you well?
I'm very good, thanks, Rob.
Well, I have to say thank you, first of all, for joining us on the podcast. I have been a fan of Hands Up for Trad for the longest time. So, I'm a wee bit fanboying out here right now. So, I have to say,
Brilliant. No, it's good. I'm very lucky to work with Hands Up for Trad. It's a great thing to be doing.
yeah, it's a fantastic movement that has been around now for quite a while, I think, with helping, supporting that's such an amazing scene. Can you tell us about Hands Up for Trad? For those of our piping audience who may not be aware of it, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, basically in 2000, in the run up to 2000, so even to jump back a little bit to 1989, when I won the Radio 2 Young Traditional Musician Award. And it was a great thing for me as a young musician. And there was a lot of Scottish musicians coming through that. And then when it changed to the Radio 2 Young Trad Award, Young Trad? It was Young Folk Award, which was for younger musicians. So when I won it, it was up to the age of 25. And then it changed to younger. And then it came to a point in about 2000 when we're saying, well, there's so many Scottish musicians around, we could really be doing with something for the Scots. So me, my wife Claire McLaughlin, and Elspeth Cowie of the Traditional Music and Song Association said, let's make this happen. So we came up with the Young Scottish Traditional Musician Award, and Colin Hind at Celtic Connections Festival agreed to put on the final. And so we got started, and it was a great success. First year's winner was Gillian Frame, and then the second year, the BBC Radio Scotland came on board. Maggie Cunningham, who was the controller of Radio Scotland, and said, "Yeah, we'll back this." And so that's all going well. And then people started saying to me, "Well, that's all good. You're supporting all the young ones, but what about us, the professionals?" And that was so. 2003, we started the Scots Trad Music Awards, and I think it was around then, possibly 2002, that because we had to, to apply for funding or anything, you really had to be a charity. So I think we started off as the Scottish National Music Trust, and then for some reason, because it's so long ago, I can't really remember. I changed it to Hands Up for Trad, and I remember everyone saying, "Oh, that's a terrible title."
Really?
It's amazing. I suppose he said that about the Beatles as well, of course. So,
There you go. Yep.
so Hands Up for Trad was born, and it was really born with the Scots Trad Music Awards.
There you are. And it has been helping the scene ever since, giving musicians a bit of a platform, I guess. And, I was saying to you just off mic before we started talking, is that I've been listening to the podcast for years now. And you've kind of been responsible for introducing me to music I wouldn't ordinarily listen to. Was that a bit of a focus, I think, of the pod?
Well, the podcast started, we had this company called Foot Stomping Records
Hmm.
in the 90s, I think, the mid to late 90s, and it carried on for a while.
Yeah.
And that's when the podcast started on. So it basically started off as a tool to sell the music we had on the website.
Hmm.
Because it was a burgeoning scene even then. There was always lots to play within the classic stuff. And then just as the 2000s went on and on and on, and 2023, there's just so much new music. And actually, during lockdown, I was making the podcast weekly, and I
That's
still
right.
had
Yeah.
no problems with filling the 50 minutes to an hour.
Mm.
So, and nowadays it's just about giving exposure to the various acts, and we do make it pretty much exclusively Scottish.
Mhm.
Although there has been the odd international Irish thing gets in over the time, but the Hands Up for Trad, the real aim of it is to increase Scottish music's visibility to the public and the media, and that's really what we're for. So as much as I love Irish music and I love Galician music and everything, really to stick to what our aims is just to promote the Scots.
Yeah, that's it. I do remember visiting the footstopping.com website, and that was the first time I actually bought an album of harp music. As a piping fan, I was why would I want to listen to harp music? But honestly, I still play that album today. So, yeah, fantastic stuff. There's a wealth of great music there. Now, obviously, us being a bagpiping show, there has been a bit of an explosion, Simon, of bagpiping, Highland piping for that matter, in the trad scene this last while. Have you found that?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you know that I'm a piper too.
Yeah.
So I was a piper in the Boys Brigade
Mm.
in my teens, and so I've always loved piping, and I still have a set of Hamish Moore small pipes,
All right.
which I don't
Yeah.
practice enough or at all. And so piping's always been a massive part of my life, and it would probably define so much of the way I play my concertina because I was
Yeah.
my pipes were before the concertina, so the ornamentation, all that's a big part of all the musician I am, and so I've
Mm.
always been very keen on it. And I suppose I'm trying to think back. You had your Tannehill Weavers and everything, really doing it in the Battlefield Band, who were an amazing Battlefield Band with the band that I was really into growing up. Actually,
Yeah.
Dougie Pincock.
Fantastic.
That Dougie
Hmm.
Pincock came to my school.
Oh,
And
wow.
I remember meeting him when I was 16 and playing the Glasgow City Police pipe band on his pipes.
Oh,
Because
brilliant.
I think back now in all my slavers and his chanter, which he never seemed to worry about. But it keeps going on and on, from what these Battlefield Band, the Tannehill Weavers did, basically treating the bagpipes like a fiddle. And then I
Yeah.
suppose running alongside that concurrently, one of the big pipe records for me was Paul Kemet Gorug album when
Yes.
Rab Maston played Gord Duncan's Andy Reddick's Ferret, because I remember having that album in the house,
Mm.
and it was actually the Andy Reddick's Ferret that really appealed to me. The arrangement of it and the way that Rab played on it, it was so cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's the perfect word for it. Absolutely, that was one
It
of
was
those
just like
recordings that was a real stamp in time. I think they were definitely
it
ahead of their time.
really
Yeah,
was. Having the keyboards and everything, because it wasn't even the full band that played it. It was just Rab that played that,
yeah,
and also along that time for me, listening was there was all the '78 Fraser Highlanders doing their live albums,
yeah.
classic
Hmm.
things. What's his name? Michael Gray doing the
Hmm.
on that live album.
Yeah.
I remember listening to it thinking this is amazing, and then just watching it all build from there. Ross Ainsley.
Mm.
For me, kind of took it to the next level. Ross and Ali,
Yeah.
and moving from Croft Number Five. Well, they weren't Croft Number Five, but that was Treacherous Orchestra. All that kind
Hmm.
of thing is it's amazing actually. Finlay MacDonald as well, of course, is a big part of all of that.
Absolutely, and it's been continuing to build over the years. If anything, at the Trad Awards just this past while, there was so many people from the bagpiping scene that I bumped into, and I'm like, "Oh my word, what are you doing here?" And oh well, and then we all started talking. We were all there for all various different reasons. It was fantastic to see.
Well, it's a good point actually, because when we started the Trad Awards in 2003,
Mm.
I mentioned Maggie Cunningham earlier with the Radio Scotland Young Trad Award, and I remember going to see her probably about the Young Trad, and I was saying, "Oh, we're actually going to do a Scots Trad Music Awards," and I suppose in my mind the I was thinking Scots Trad Music Awards, what will it be? Well, and I'm thinking like Peat Bog Fairies and bands like that,
Yeah.
and she said, "Well, the my folk music is the music that Robbie Shepherd plays on a Saturday night," and
Right.
that really got me thinking, and all of a sudden it made me change my whole concept of the Trad Awards to be an umbrella of all the different facets. So from the dance bands, we had to have the pipe bands, and then Gaelic and Scots, and I think that
Mm.
has been the success of it, and actually the success of Hands Up for Trad is we've tried to be as open as possible and just to promote everybody. And nowadays, I love with having the pipe bands part of it, and the pipes will be a massive part of it again come December this year.
That's it. Well, I have to say, I was still pinching myself that I was actually there. I couldn't believe it, Simon. I have to apologize first of all. Whenever I first got the email from yourself saying, "Hi, I think you've been nominated," I thought, "No, we couldn't be." I didn't believe you. Have you ever had that reaction from anyone who's been nominated? Going, "No, couldn't be us."
Oh, yeah, lots of times actually, because, well, there's lots of different scenarios in my mind for being nominated at the Trad Awards.
Mm.
You could be touring all over the world, selling millions of albums, or you could have, in terms of how you could have made an album. The first album, you might be 50, and you're making your first album. It's all really worthwhile stories. It's not just about
Yeah.
people who are or who are out there doing it. We've got to
Mm.
trying to recognise lots of different facets, and I think that's really important. And I remember when they started the pipe band category. I was speaking to Roddy McLeod about it actually, and he said, "Yeah, we've got to try and look at within this category is not just the Grade One winners. We've
Yeah,
also got
but
to look at the
everyone, yeah. Hmm.
yeah, but who's doing well in the juniors, who's actually making a difference to their community."
Hmm.
And there's so many great, and it's great because you get to get to lots of different people.
That's it too. Yeah. And that's the big thing I took from the evening is, well, first of all, how amazing it was to be in that room after watching it on the telly for years. But it was such a melting pot, with so many people from around the scene. Like I was Kaylee in with Brayback and then chatting with from the guys from Inverary and then guys from the Elephant Sessions. It was nuts.
Yeah, folk music. We're very lucky in folk music, whether in Scotland or in Ireland. There's not
Mm,
masses of ego, and
no,
I love that. There's no one sort of big timing you,
no.
and I love the fact that we could just go and chat to people, and they're just kind of normal.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, like I can't remember who it was. I think it was the bass player from Elephant Set. We were standing chatting about Star Wars. Like it was the weirdest thing, but such an amazing night. Yeah, rolling forward then into 2023, you guys clearly have a head of steam of a lot of things happening this year. Can you tell us of what's ahead of you?
Yeah, well, talking on the Trad Awards, we're going to be back in the Caird Hall on the 2nd of December.
Hmm.
We haven't announced any acts yet, but it's already looking really exciting. That's going to be really good. It's also the 100th anniversary of the Caird Hall this year, so it's a great to be going
Oh,
back
right,
there.
yeah. Mm.
Young Trad will be launching soon. We've
Hmm.
got our Distill program, which is launching in well, that'll be in just a couple of weeks, and that's where we bring professional musicians together
Hmm.
to learn with musicians from other fields. So we've got a classical composer and we've got a jazz improviser who's coming to work with all the
Oh,
tradies
wow. Hey.
for a weekend, and we just stay there for 4 days. We've actually just
Mm.
had a very successful Shaki the Gaelic, which
Hmm.
we is World Gaelic Week, and it's basically a week of Gaelic and Gaelic, and we this is our second year,
Yeah.
and we had about 130 events running over the week through February
Oh, my
celebrating
goodness.
Gaelic,
That's amazing.
and I know, and we do stuff with Scots. We've got Giza Scots Poem Day, which is a wee hashtag day,
Hmm.
and then which leads into the Scots Language Awards, which is in September the 16th. And
Yeah.
oh, 'cause there's loads of summer schools running, and I'm quite lucky, Rab, to do what we do.
But hi, so much happening. I don't know how you keep up with it all, Simon. Yeah, but you're
Yeah, to
a
own a focus
playing.
definitely helps me.
Well, that's you're also a playing musician in your own right. Can I say, I'm a huge fan of your TikTok account. Where you're uploading like wee 30-second videos. They're smashing.
Yeah, one of the I think successes of Hands Up for Trad has been that I've always loved technology. From the podcast days, starting the podcast, I actually know I've been into learning
Mm.
about how things work, and so it's never held me back, and I think I've definitely used it to enable Hands Up for Trad to do more.
Yeah, yeah,
And that sounds good. I mean, but the early foot stomping days, we were us in Music Scotland were one of the first websites
yeah.
up, just working out how it goes. And I
Hmm.
do love all of that, and through lockdown, we did lots of live broadcasts. I had to learn how to do all that kind of stuff. And,
Mm.
technology is an amazing thing, and it really works hand in hand with the tradition, And if we can really promote what's going on without losing any of the wonderfulness of it.
That's it. And I'm so glad you mentioned those live streams. Throughout lockdown, you guys were really a huge outlet for musicians during such a difficult time, you know. And some of those streams, the concerts, the events you put on were just incredible. So it's bound to have been a lot of work went into those, Simon.
It was, but it was a lot of work and a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You know, it was.
that's
You
it.
know, I think back to it, and I think how it was amazing how as soon as we started to come out of lockdown, how the audiences dropped off for it though. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
I
Yeah.
remember we sold 300 tickets for an online EMAR gig.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Yeah,
amazing. And the boys went away in these difficult times with a lot of money each.
they are. That's smashing.
And
Yeah.
and then we tried to do it a year later, and it was like nobody, not for them, but other people,
Mm,
just nobody buying tickets. It was really interesting, actually.
there you
People just
go.
want to be back out, of course. You know, they want to be
That's it.
heading to Glasgow Green for the world. And they don't want to be
Absolutely.
watching it on
Yeah.
a video stream.
That's it. So there is that ongoing argument currently about, online events, but in-person events, honestly, having that personal connection with a band on stage, you can't beat it. Yeah,
Oh, you
that's it.
cannot beat it. You know, I was at Celtic Connections there. I went to see a Trench Orchestra at the fruit market. I saw people, fairies in the fruit
Oh,
market, and
wow.
being in the middle of it was just the most amazing thing. All these
Yeah.
people, I actually watch these gigs and I feel really proud. You know, I see these bands going on stage,
Mm,
thousands of people standing up dancing, and actually these bands are doing music that they believe in as
yeah.
well. It's not like a
Hmm.
dance show or anything. They're playing their own music and people are loving every minute of it.
Oh, it's smashing. I think that there's never been a more healthy time to start listening to trad and folk music from Scotland. I think it's in such a positive place. And especially from a piping point of view, 2023 is going to be a huge season for us from pipe bands and all of our amazing musicians. So, for everyone who does want to follow along, if you aren't following us on Rab Show, then please do check out Hands Up for Trad for sure. So, Simon, what are your contact details for folks to go and check you out online then?
Well, just go and visit our website, handsupfortrad.scot, and you can join the newsletter. And from there, we have a weekly newsletter. We have 3 weekly newsletters that go out. We have the main Hands Up for Trad one that goes out on a Tuesday with lots of news from the whole scene. We have
Mm,
a Thursday one called Folk Waves, which
mm-hmm.
is just it basically promotes music to podcasters so they can play for free. And then we have one for musicians that goes out live as on a Friday, just for opportunities and everything.
There you
Yeah,
are.
but handsupfortrad.scot is your starting point, and of course all our social media as well.
Oh, of course. And don't forget to check out Simon on TikTok as well. Yeah, those are smashing. So, yeah, Simon, I have to say again, I know I'm a huge fan. So, thank you for taking time to chat with us here in the Rab Show. And hopefully, we'll catch up in the near future. Yeah.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
we'll see you soon.
indeed. So, yeah, I give my best to everyone there at Hands Up for Trad. Simon, thanks so much for chatting with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.